The first thing worth noting is what we call the content library, which is really a pretty wide collection of data as well as other information that's curated in one spot to really support you with your local planning and analysis needs. There are 159 pieces of content in here. This includes all of the content that's currently in SCAG's open data site, as well as a good deal more data and other information. And so I think the plan is over time to replace the existing open data site with the regional hub. But everything you can find there, you can also find here. In terms of the content within here, a good amount of this is what we call feature layers. So about 115 of those. You can think of these as service-enabled data sets, which allow you to not only download them, but to filter them, to interact with them, and even to use them directly in your systems and applications. But there's also maps. You can see a collection of 17 maps here as well. There's documents. So in this case, we've taken a lot of the key documentation that SCAG has produced and is made available through various portions of the SCAG website and brought those in here so that if you're searching for something like sustainability, you might find not only data, but policies and plans and documentation related to that in one spot. There's also applications as well as Excel documents and a few other types. One thing that's maybe worth noting here too is that this isn't just data that SCAG has produced or even that has sort of procured and updated or enriched and shared. In a lot of cases, this is data coming from other sources. And so you can see here the list of different sources from which a lot of this data is pulled together. If I just click on Caltrans, for example, we can see there's 11 data sets that come specifically from Caltrans. And the idea here was to bring all useful data together in one place. So there's a bit of a clearinghouse or one-stop shop for you to find data that may be of value in your local planning process, as opposed to you having to go to Caltrans website or Census's website and such. To maybe just drill in a little bit deeper. So when you've found one of these data sets, what you can do with it, if I click on state highway bridges, again, this is a Caltrans data set. You start by broadening in to look at a map representation. Here we go. There's about 13,000 of these state highway bridges. It's an interactive map, so you can zoom in and you can interact with these points. You can also, from this point, filter the data. So if you want to just look at specific counties, for example, or look at them by name, you can also adjust the styling. So there's a certain amount of interactivity you can do just within kind of the content library experience. You can also choose to download the data. It gives you options to download the full data set or the filtered data set, as well as download them in different formats. You can favorite it. If you want to come back and look at it later, you can also view it in tabular form. But then if you want to do more with this data, you have this option to take what we're looking at here as data and bring it into sort of create your own map out of that, or to create your own story map, which is a type of application that lets you take this data, not just put it in a map, but create an experience around it where you can tell a story around this data. If you're more of a developer, you can get direct access to various API endpoints. So you can actually bring this directly into your application or your own GIS system, as well as explore the API using the API Explorer. This getting a little bit more into the developers in the audience, maybe tools that would be useful for you. You also can look more at the data source, the metadata, et cetera. So all that stuff is there if you're interested to dig in. And this exists for all of the data sets that are within the repository. Now, maybe just to highlight one thing quickly that I forgot to note, when looking at data that's coming from sources outside of SCAG, it's important to note that done our best to sort of highlight that by way of who owns the data as well as the tags. And you can see in here, these are external data sets and unmodified by SCAG. So just something to key into as you're exploring the data. The team has done a fair amount to try to clarify the source of various data sets, but it's just something to look out to since there are data from multiple sources all within here.